Hey, and welcome to LEOG's... Wait, is this 6.5?
I think it's 6.5.
Man, I just lose track.
See, ever since you did this whole weird numbering system, it's thrown them off.
I know.
It's
See,
like the Battlestar Galactica numbering systems. I don't understand that damn thing at all.
I-
And because they don't put information on the back of the damn boxes, unless I write it down like some kind of retard, I'm going to go ahead and throw the R word out
you
there.
didn't.
Blam!
No, you
There's the R word
didn't.
right out of the box.
R word. Oh, my God. That's retarded to use that word.
Yeah, and unless I have it written down what episodes I have or what seasons I have, how the hell am I supposed to know which series I'm supposed to buy at the damn
And to
store?
get even nerdier for a second,
Could you possibly?
when-
He just threw in Battlestar Galactica.
I can top that.
All right.
I get very irritated that I can't tell the order of things that happen in Star Trek because of the fucking star dates. Who can understand that series of numbers there? It's like, wait, does this also relate to location in the galaxy?
Do you
too?
honestly like listen to the star dates and try to like match it up chronologically?
I'm speechless.
I am too.
I'm going to take the fifth on that one.
Oh my God! All right, so this is LEOG 6.5,
6.5.
or 26 if you're counting the other way.
The great reveal of Cyrus's deeper nerdiness.
And on a 0.5, we like to keep it a little mellow, just a little low key. So we just got Cyrus and Leon here, and our special guests, artists for Marvel Comics, DC Comics, several other independent presses, Mr. John Lucas.
I guess I shouldn't have started speaking before now.
That's fine. That's fine.
Wow, that's fine. You just dove,
You
right in.
You was shot out of a cannon.
I was like scared.
It's a human cannonball over here.
Now we're going to take a few questions. You guys can ask us anything you want to about working in the industry.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
wait. We don't have a call in. Oh, well, you could have. Hopefully we'll get to your questions as they come along.
Oh, we should have just played it off and like, yeah, the phone's not ringing. Oh, well, I guess we'll just make some shit up. Well, let's start off like
Who's
you
gonna
were-
call?
First off, John was here on the Staple, the first edition, the first half of Staple, I believe,
Right, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, when we did the first 0.5 with it, which I guess was 4.5.
I don't even go into
I
that.
don't even know. But he talked a little bit about what he's done. But let's just do a quick refresher course here, real quick, about the some of the books you feel most proud about having worked on, and what exactly you did on them.
Proud?
Sure.
Well, okay, that people might know the most prominent.
There must be
I don't
something
know.
you're proud of having done.
You worked on some Batman books.
No, I worked on the backups of some Batmans. I was supposed to do a Batman run, but then that got yanked on me at one point.
What happened?
It was Legends of the Dark Knight. It was a 4-issue thing I was supposed to do with that. Mike Carey was writing it, and apparently they had like 2 or 3 years worth of backlog on it, and the book was going to be canceled eventually. So
Yeah.
Dan DiDio put his foot down and said, "We cannot finish any of this business." So they paid me for what I had drawn already, and then it got shit canned.
That sucks. That sucks. I
I
would
can
just,
swear, can't I?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
By all
Anything
means.
anything you can think
I
of.
mean, honestly, I don't think we
Big
could stop
fucker.
you even if we say no.
Okay.
Believe me, I am not going back and editing like bleeps into this whole thing.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
going to happen. There's not enough time in my
Well,
life
like the
for that.
Osbournes, it might be funnier.
That's true. It might be funnier, but I'm still not doing it.
I mean, just to give a little history, John and I started in comics right about the same time. I want to say like that mid-'80s time. We met at a Dallas Fantasy Fair.
1880s?
Yeah, but you were already working for like companies back then, and I
Yeah,
was still
I had a little bit of a
sort
head start.
scrambling around with like guys self-publishing crap.
Well, that's true. You were with a group of guys from Waco, the Waco contingent.
Yeah.
What was the name? You guys had a
The
group.
Bootleg Press or something like that, or Bootleg or
No, it
something
was,
like that.
I thought it was something else. But
well, Absolute Comics. was the
Absolute
name of the
Comics,
company.
thank you.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
But like out of all these guys, John was like clearly the guy who was the most talented, like an amazing penciler who just really knew human anatomy better than anybody I knew, and was just
Oh yeah, John's the best artist there. Oh,
shut up, man. I'm excited to have him here because this is one of the guys you used to pal around with before he went big time and moved to New York.
Ah, okay.
I know skyscrapers and everything.
I'm the guy here who's like totally out of my element. I just like to read comic books. Y'all actually have been professionals in it, so I should just shut up probably.
well,
Semi-pro. Kind of. I got my cup of coffee up in the bigs. But
now we were in the trenches paying our dues. What
Yeah.
would you say was the moment when you made that extra leap into real professional?
the banana bread lady.
Oh
at
my
the
God!
Dallas
Okay,
Fantasy
that's
Fairs.
true.
There used to be a
This is this
convention in
old lady
Dallas.
named Joyce. She was about 80 years old, and she would show up at every convention and give us all a little loaf of banana bread that she baked.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
kind of like what happened like in the early days of the Real Deal. So
Yeah, if she
Yes.
got something signed, she'd give us some banana. And I even got like sort of a head fake psych thrown on me the year before because there's a guy who draws Barbie comics and Katie Keene named John S. Lucas. And the
Oh.
year before that, she brought some Katie Keens and Barbies for me to sign and was going to give me some banana bread. And I was so excited. I saw the banana bread coming. I thought, this is my moment to shine. And then, bam, she dropped the Barbies and the Katie Keens down on the table. And I had to
And
tell
you're
her,
like,
that's not
I
me.
can't sign those.
And yeah, I was denied the banana bread.
You should have just pretended like you didn't see them and
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I just gotta have a piece of this bread right
Yeah.
now."
No,
They go,
man, it's
"Oh,
like
we're
Ted Williams,
full."
man. It's the year he hit 400, man. He could have quit. He had a doubleheader the last day of the season, and his average was at 3.9 or 3.3999. But it wouldn't have been 400, so he hit those 2 days, hit 406. Last man to hit over
To be
400.
This is going to be a long podcast if you're going to keep bringing up sports.
Let's say, to be fair, I understand that Star Trek Stardate thing better than what you just said.
but you know that there's people listening to go like, yes, finally.
I know they tease us about the sports thing because we've all laughed like we don't know anything about it.
We have a bass player who's really into sports,
Yeah.
and whenever he brings it up, we make fun of him mercilessly.
but
mercilessly.
He's, all right. He's the coolest of us all. Though.
That's true.
And I'm a Yankees fan, so it pains me to bring up a Red Sox reference. But you got to admire Ted. He was a war hero, shitty father, and his head is frozen in a can somewhere.
Is it really?
But,
I thought it was
yeah.
just a joke on the Simpsons or
no, man,
or Futurama.
His son. He was going back to the shitty father thing. Apparently, he was a shitty father and didn't have much contact with his parents. But later in his life, sort of reconnected with his kids. And one of his kids, Ted Jr., I think maybe, wound up against his wishes, wound up chopping his head off and freezing it. And,
Holy
saying
shit.
that they were going to try and clone him later on or something. He even wrangled his way into getting a minor league contract with the Red Sox and
Holy
couldn't hit his
fucking
weight.
shit.
Oh my God!
Well, let's be honest about something. I mean, back in the day, maybe even now, I mean, no real man is a good father. Come on.
Wow. And much was revealed.
Yeah.
Little said.
So what Leon is saying, he's either wearing panties or he's beating the crap out of his girlfriend or something.
Well, all I'm saying, I mean, I'm thinking about my own dad. I don't know about y'all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, he's made no secret of the fact that he's not exactly close with his father.
But he was a real man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So after all your time in the Bush leagues, working on black and white funny books,
Yeah.
what was the first big color comic book you got to work on?
Starman. I did a Starman annual, Starman 80-page giant. The
James
one
Robinson wrote
the
it?
Starman
Oh,
that has
nice.
never been collected in anything.
Are you serious?
The one I get no love, man.
Jesus, man.
Jesus, Lee, and this is just like you guys are y'all related or something?
That-
Are you
yeah.
in some sort of cult of
Well,
like
you know, that's what cracked me up was like
Same shit
when we
happened
talked
to
to him
him.
at Staple, he talked about like he only got put on the books that got canceled,
Yeah.
and when you got a reputation for being the killer
Firearm.
books. Gunfire. Gunfire is the book I worked on. But I always had that reputation.
Yeah.
And goddamn, if I didn't have Rick Claw, always the one beating the drum and having the
Yeah.
parade, like, this is the guy who kills books.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, shut up. You're supposed to be my fucking friend.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I was just
And that's
thinking-
why God has stricken him with MS.
Oh, come on.
See now,
Man, that's just
that's
wrong.
too far even for us. Holy cow!
I love
He
you,
listens to
Rick.
these.
I love you, Rick. You know that shit's true, though.
I was thinking of Grimjack because they finally started recollecting those in volumes, right?
Yes.
And it like stops the collections right before Leon
Really?
started
Yeah.
started
Oh,
doing
my
the art
God.
on it.
Well, see, but okay, there's that on that side. But then there was a book I worked on, sax and violins that they collected, and never sent me a dime or
The
even
George Perez thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
never even like a mention. Like I happened to be like when we did our show at Rogues Gallery, I happened to see it there on the discount table. I bought one. I was like, oh, finally, I get to have a collection of this book I worked on, which I didn't even know was out.
Yeah, which you would try and probably like send him an angry letter, except it was on the discount table.
Yeah,
and go,
he-
well, what exactly are you going to get?
Right.
Yeah.
They should have plenty laying around, though. At least send him some copies.
Well, hell, man. I mean, I don't. Okay, I always wanted to ask you this about royalties. Like, I only worked on one project where I actually got royalties from the big companies, and it was that Todd McFarlane Spider-Man poster, and it was nice because I got a big check up front, and I would get
you
royalties.
got it for I guess that was back in the days when they were still paying for stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, because when you do like. I know, like for the regular comics is a certain amount of pay, but when you do like specialty items, you get more money and you have royalties come back. And then there's a point where like they dwindled down to nothing almost, and then I was at Disneyland and saw they'd made postcards of it with,
Yeah.
with exactly with the artwork that I worked on.
Yeah.
So when I got back home, I called them up. I'm like, hey, what's with the postcards?
Marvel is just wrong now.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the posters and merchandising and stuff like that, I get royalty checks from like Civil War Frontline.
Oh,
and
cool.
things like that. But what it is like any type of extra stuff, like foreign editions or
right.
or posters or John Cassaday. I was at a show with him in was it Charlotte or Baltimore? I don't remember. Both great shows. I love both of those shows. But I guess there's a Hanes factory not too far from there.
Yeah.
And some guy brought up a few different pairs of Wolverine underwear with John's artwork on it. John had never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. And I mean, it's common. They use his artwork on toy packaging. There's up in my wife and I went to Niagara Falls and Cooperstown on a trip at one point. And when we were up in Niagara Falls, over on the Canadian side, there's this big arcade, and for whatever reason, it's Marvel themed.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
John's artwork is all over it. There was like a big Captain America type game. And, it
And
was
he
right
should
about
be
the
getting
time he
money
was
for
doing it.
all
He
that.
got squat, man.
Yeah.
And they did posters. He didn't get anything.
So I assume that the contract, because I mean, like I know the contracts at one point that we signed here on Spill were specific about any marketing, any advertising like that with our images. We can't say anything about anything to do with those or anything that we've already kind of sold to the site. If they reuse, oh well, too bad.
Yeah.
And I would think that would have been in their contracts as
I
well.
would have too. Well, the thing was, when I called him up to complain about it, the guy was like, "Oh, well, I mean, the royalties you get, it would just be some dollars." And I'm like, "Well, dollars are what I use for currency to pay my rent." So, and then they sent me a check for $300, and I'm like, "That's nothing to sneeze at."
That's amazing.
I know.
That's great that you actually got something. No, that's just part of Marvel's deal now. You just don't really get that kind of thing.
Yeah.
DC's a lot better about it, I hear.
I always heard they were better about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've never done any poster or underwear art or anything, but
As far as you know, so far.
well, nobody's putting, my stuff on underwear, I don't think, or posters. But DC is real cool about. Every now and then I'll get like a $50 check or something for sales of those detective comics that I did the backups in. They'll sell in Spain or Italy or
Nice.
something, and
very
I'll
cool.
get about once a year I'll get a little $50 check from it.
And especially if they come in around December and Christmas, I bet that's real nice.
That has been the one thing about royalties that's been really cool is they usually come right about the time when I really, really need it. Like a trade paperback will come out, something. And they generally pay you about 6 months after the thing comes out.
The great pattern.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say I better go check my underwear drawer because I have an extensive collection of superhero underwear. So, if
Not
anywhere-
underoos, dude.
No, they don't make those anymore. But what you do is you go to like the dollar store,
Yeah.
and they'll always have in the bin. You look around, they'll have some Wolverine underwear or something.
You
grab
might
those.
have some John Cassaday Wolverine underwear.
Yeah, I might, or John Lucas.
No, I never drew. Well, I drew Wolverine once, and he wasn't in his mask or anything.
All right, fair.
They're not putting my artwork on underwear, dude.
Hey, man, stop selling yourself short.
Well,
You
no,
never
it's
know.
just a self-realization, man. I know where my place. I used to always say that, and I keep bringing Cassaday up because I'm a horrible name dropper, but he's also, my
He's one of your best
He's one of
friends.
my best friends,
Yeah.
And I would always say, if he's Derek Jeter, I'm Louise Soho. Another sports reference.
God damn it.
Wow.
It's just not going to stop.
Like
I
four
lived in New York, man.
four of our fans are going to be so pleased.
I love Sweet Louise Soho, man.
All right. Now, I know something a lot of people listening to are going to want to hear from you, which is how can they, if somebody wanting to get into the business of being a comic book penciler, inker, whatever, how would they go about it right now?
Good Lord, I don't know now. I mean, we lucked out because we were around during the black and white boom and the
True.
indie boom and all that, and people were actually paying small rates, but rates to produce artwork for black and white stuff. I mean, now the only thing I would suggest is I know some people that are doing it, and they're doing it with some success, and even some people that are a little better known. They're producing material online. And
Online,
there are,
really? So you're saying
just free content online and then later on collecting it in graphic novel form.
Well,
Yeah.
And selling it at shows.
Online is a great place to start to get a following, right? Even though
Yeah.
you're not going to make any money probably doing it, except for maybe for some merchandising.
Yeah.
You know, if you're lucky, like the Strong Bad guys, miraculously, apparently, they made thousands of dollars off T-shirts.
I love Homestar.
Which is what I've been
Ride.
fucking
doubt.
saying every one of these.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
More power to them, and more power to anybody who finds a way to do that. But if you're trying to use the internet as a way to move on to doing something bigger, it's great because there's a resume that's already got like how well received it is just by looking at the site. You can show them, hey, here's my site where I've done this, and you can see I've got a massive fan base already. So
I mean, that's basically what I tell people. It's like, it's not, it's great if you have an awesome portfolio and you can go talk to somebody at a convention and hope that they remember you when they get back to the office and see your stuff. But outside of being able to walk into the office, I would think you really need to have something that's published or established. Even if you're self-published.
That's what I tell a lot of the people who come up to me that ask me is, for one thing, don't do San Diego. There's no point in it because it's too big and everybody is mad because they're there and they didn't want to go. All the editors I know don't want to go to San Diego, but they're made to go.
really,
Yeah, because
now it's a Hollywood
It's
event now.
insane, man.
It
It's
is
overwhelming.
insane. It is overwhelming.
And think about it. It's overwhelming if you're there attending the show. Think about if you're working there on the weekend.
Not fun.
No, and what they do is rather they'll exchange. They don't get paid for that. What they do is they get a vacation day somewhere. They can take this is my San Diego day.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was like that bad for them.
So that's what I've been told by a couple of people. So
Because I see so many of them getting drunk when the show shuts down.
Yeah, and so I mean, don't even go because they see so many people and they're so overwhelmed. And you go, man, but by early in the second day, they are so overwhelmed, they're glassy eyed, they can't process anything. So what you do is you go to shows like Philly,
Or even right here, Armadillo Con in Austin.
Well, that's
I don't know
more
what you get.
science
Yeah,
fiction
that's
stuff.
more
is it?
sci-fi.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was.
But
comics.
like Charlotte is a great show. Find a smaller show that's somewhere up kind of Seattle's. I don't know how many editors go to Seattle though. I haven't been to Seattle, but try to find like a smaller show that's kind of in the northeast area. I mean, if you're going to fly all the way to San Diego, just fly in the other direction. Even the New York show is better because a lot of the editors are on their home turf and they can go home and get
that's
a good
true.
night's sleep in their own bed.
Aren't DC and Marvel both in?
Yeah,
New
they're
York?
both in New York.
So it
but
would make more
but
sense
still,
to go
it's an
there.
overwhelming show. So you might still get that sleepy-eyed response. But Philly is a good show for that. Baltimore, some editors show up for Baltimore. Try to hit some of the smaller shows because they're not so overwhelmed and they actually have a chance. And there aren't as many people trying to shove portfolios in their faces.
Isn't the Wizard show supposed to be good?
In Chicago?
Yeah. No.
I would think that would be a big one, too. Kind of a mob
I
scene.
went last year and it was sad.
Was it really?
It
Because
was
I've always heard
sad.
great things about it. Like, people talk about it as if it was better than San Diego.
I don't know, man. Maybe it was at one point. I went years ago and it was okay. Actually, there's supposed to be a new non-Wizard show starting in Chicago next year, which I'm kind of excited about because it's in Chicago. The Chicago show is actually in Rosemont.
Rosemont.
Yeah.
When I went to Chicago, I ended up in Rosemont.
And it's in this.
I had to take a lot
I'm-
of trains to get to Chicago.
Yeah. So it's like you're stuck out in this suburb, and the only thing to do, unless you hop a train or a cab into the city or know somebody, and you go all the way into the city, is you go to a sports bar.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because when I was taking a class on it was a computer program on InDesign, and it was like, oh, we'll fly you to Chicago. I was like, awesome, but it was Rosemont. So to get to Chicago, I had to take a cab to the airport and catch a train from there to get downtown.
Yeah.
Say, if you're John or one of the other 4 members of LEOG who like sports, going to Chicago seems like a great thing because it's sports central, right? I mean, everyone always tells me
it's not even the sports thing. I mean, there are the restaurants, there are the museums. I mean, there's
Well,
the music.
I'm not
there's
demeaning
the
the rest of
food.
it. I'm just saying that, like,
You know.
when people talk about how much they love sports, Chicago is one of the first cities that come
it's
up. as,
fantastic,
like,
man. Wrigley Field is beautiful,
Right.
And there's Comiskey, but
even I know what you're talking about there. Okay.
but yeah, I mean, and the architecture there is beautiful, and writing the L is great. I mean,
It's Gotham
Chicago's a
City.
great town. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because all those different schools of architectural design were there, and it's like somebody shook them up in a can and threw them over their shoulder, and they're just all right next to each other.
Yeah.
So
So
it's not being gentrified like Manhattan.
Well,
so.
let's go into the fun questions here, and I want to ask you, and I know you might be tempted to just blow this off, but who's the biggest dick you've had to deal with in comics, other than me?
Are you wondering like who politically you can say, or are you just trying to measure
That's
like
what
who
I'm-
actually was the biggest?
You know, I haven't met a lot of dicks, really. I mean, most of the people in comics, my most negative experience was one of my first experiences. It probably was my first experience, but he's not a guy who's in comics anymore, so that could be kind of a cheat.
Oh, well, you can
But-
name two. Name this person.
This guy is
Tell us his story.
Chuck Kim.
Chuck Kim. I don't know.
And he was Archie Goodwin's. My very first assignments at DC were the Starman 80-page Giant and the Starman the Starman 80-page Giant and a missed one shot.
Okay.
And what happened? I had met James Robinson at a show. Mark Chiarello, who I had met, and he and I got along. He introduced me, or didn't introduce me, but called James Robinson. He was going to be at a show in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he, I guess, contacted James and said, hey, man, this guy I know who's a decent artist is going to come say hi to you. And so I went and showed him my artwork, and he liked it. And he showed my stuff to Archie Goodwin, and Archie liked it well enough. This is when Archie was battling cancer,
Right.
and he was just about to die. And but he gave me the thumbs up, and then immediately, I guess, got sick.
Yeah.
And so I was dealing with his assistant, this guy named Chuck Kim. And the first assignment was the Starman 80-page Giant, and I started working on it. I think I was 4 pages into it. And I get this call from Chuck Kim saying, hey, man, we've got this book. It's back when DC was doing those skip weeks.
Yeah.
And he said, we got this book. It's late. We need an artist for it. Script isn't even written yet. But we need
Jesus.
somebody to draw it. It needs to be done in 2.5 weeks.
And if somebody came to me with that, you would be the first person I'd think of.
And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to, this guy, you know, not to be morbid, but Archie's not doing well. This is his assistant. So you think, oh, if he's Archie's assistant, he must be on the ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to ingratiate myself to this young, you know, up-and-coming editor. And, you know, I'm on my way. And turns out, yeah, the script isn't even written yet. I get 11 pages of it, non-sequential 11 pages,
Yeah.
and start drawing on it. And they tell me it's a rush job. They don't even know who the bad guy is yet, because especially back then, I don't know how bad it is now, but there was a lot of infighting and like territorial pissing with regard to, well, I have all the Superman characters, and I have all the Flash characters, and I have all the Green Lantern characters as far as editors. And they didn't want to give them up and didn't want to share them. And I guess there was some sort of finagling that had to go on. So they were wanting to use this one particular villain, but he was a Green Lantern villain or something. And, so
That all
yeah, they
seems
didn't know
so
who the bad guy
silly.
was. And so I started drawing this thing, but because I had to draw 22 pages, and I'm not the fastest artist in the world.
But
know.
you are fast.
No, I'm not anymore.
Really?
But, yeah, I've gotten much, much slower. But at the time, I was okay. I was a page-a-day guy. But that still doesn't give me enough time to do, you know, good, solid, you know, finished pencils
Sure.
in 2.5 weeks.
Sure.
And so I'm rushing through these things. I send in my first batch of pages, and I get a call from him. He said, well, these don't really look like the artwork that I saw samples of. And I was like, you know, I was trying to be, you know, diplomatic and political
Yeah.
and be kind, but he just kept on me and on me about it. And finally, I was just like, well, man, it's a rush job. You told me it's a rush job. And I said, honestly, I feel like this is just some sort of like, you know, initiation process. Like you're just treating the new guy like crap. And he said, well, yeah, a little.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah.
Do you want a good book or not?
Yeah, but I rushed the thing out, and I got it done on time. They wound up paying me breakdown rates instead.
What does that mean?
It's less money. It's like there are breakdowns, which are just like sort of very loose pencils that let you know where everything is, and then the finisher comes in and they finish it all and, you know, clean it up and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, you think about it. You're going to have a writer. You're going to have a guy who's a penciler who draws everything in pencil, and an inker who comes over everything with ink. But the penciler could be broken down into breakdowns, which is somebody who basically just does sketches of what goes on the page, where you have another guy with a pencil who does the actual detail on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Richard Case came in, who was the inker on it, and they paid him a finishing rate, even though he didn't change my artwork at all.
That's
And so I got burned on that, and I just thought, man, I hate comics. You know, I hate them. But right after that, he got fired. And Peter Tomasi, he got the Starman book, and he finished it, and he was great to work with, and I turned it all in, and he would get the artwork, and he'd say, "Got it, looks right."
You were
And that was the end of
refreshed
it.
because you were like, not everybody's a dick in comics.
Yeah. I mean, Peter Tomasi's, he's a nice guy.
Okay,
and
so-
now he's writing. So
Now, the more fun question here is, what's the most memorable? Like when you've got a story, like you're sitting around with people talking about comic shit that happened to you. What's the story that you like to tell? Like funniest or weirdest or whatever it is. I know you must have several by now. Especially, hell, you probably just have stories about New York in general. But
Oh, I had an asshole story.
oh
well,
Leon's
it's
gonna
not,
cut
it's not my
in.
time. No, go ahead.
no, go ahead because I'm trying to think. I'm not trying to be like diplomatic or anything. I'm just
Trying to think of the good
I'm
stories.
scrambling like what you. It's like whenever somebody asks you, "What's your favorite movie?"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or what's your
Well,
favorite record? What are Desert Island Discs or something? You're going.
I actually have settled on the one movie, and then everything else, I'm like, hell, I don't know. There's like, I could narrow it down from 500.
I always just name the Thin Man because
I always go
it's-
with Blade Runner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those
They're
are
both
So
the-
yeah,
good
you tell
answers.
your story and I'll try and think of one.
All right, so back when I was like struggling to make a name for not even make a name for myself. I wasn't professional at all. I'm trying to get up to professional quality, showing my stuff at conventions. And are you doing that because you thought of your story, or you know what I'm going to say?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so there was this inker called Steve Mitchell, named Steve Mitchell, and I never liked his work. I thought it was terrible. Like they would always put him on good artists, even Frank Miller at one point,
Right.
and he made their work look worse. But I was at a convention, and he was one of the professionals there, and I'd been showing my samples around and getting a lot of good feedback. And I showed it to him just because he was there and I was there, and he had nothing good to say.
Really?
I mean, he was honestly like, it wasn't just simply not having anything good to say, but he was like laughing at my work.
He was laughing.
He was
openly.
yeah, openly laughing like, "Why'd you do this?" And that's ugly.
Were you tempted to violence?
I mean, I was shocked. After you've been given really good feedback from everybody, I had one guy who doesn't simply not like it, but is actually laughing. And I was like, I can't believe this guy's doing
have to
this.
be a special kind of asshole to do that with someone's art like that.
Right. And the only good thing he said, like he linked to the guy next to him at one point in a sort of positive way, said like, "Hey, check this out. You ever seen somebody use a halftone screen like this before?" And that was it. And he handed it back to me. He's like, "I don't know what to tell you." And I was devastated for a month. Like I had a month where I didn't draw, didn't pick up anything at all.
Wow. Yeah,
I mean-
I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, it took me that month to kind of like come back to myself and go like, "Wait a minute, I think this guy sucks. So why should I listen to anything he has to say?"
Yeah, fair enough.
Now we fast forward to several years when I've turned pro, been working in the industry for a while, and Milestone Media starts up, and they were the company, sort of like the black offshoot of DC. They're doing Icon and Static and Blood Syndicate, all these books. I mean, Static Shock, the cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Came from that. So I'm like thinking like, hey, I'm black. I should be able to get in with these guys on a colorist level. And
40 acres and a mule, man.
yeah, exactly. And like
You
one time
can't
they
say-
came
you
to
can't
Texas.
say colorist with black people.
I know. They came to Texas, and I couldn't go see him, but I sent my girlfriend because I'm like, she'll attract attention. And sure enough, she does. Takes my portfolio and talks to Dwayne McDuffie. And then I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, "Man, your work is great. This ought to work good. I'm going to set you up with Nicole." And I can't remember her, Nicole Giddings, because she was in charge of the colorists who worked for them. And so they sent me sort of as a trial basis, because calling cards. I mean, like the sort of comic book baseball cards were popular at the time. And they sent me the first time they sent me was to color one of their cards, and they had some that were of the cartoon characters and some that were of the creators. And the card they sent me was the Steve Mitchell card to color, and I was like, wow, how ironic is that? And all my buddies I shared space with, like Shannon Wheeler and I forgot who else, were like, "Man, you got to fuck that up. Screw that guy." And I was like, yeah, well, that's a nice sentiment, but I'm trying to do some work here. So I did I thought it was a pretty nice job on it. And I just said, "Thanks for this opportunity. It's so funny that you would send me the card of the guy who told me to quit, so long ago, but I enjoy working on it and look forward to things in the future." I never heard anything back from them. I got paid for it. It got printed, never heard anything back. So a year or so later, I go to San Diego Con, And I bring my portfolio to her. I'm like, yeah, I'm just hoping, just get some FaceTime with you to get back on the roster. And she's like, yeah, your work looks really good. We could actually use some more colorists. He's like, your name looks familiar. Have you done anything for us before? I was like, yeah, I colored the Steve Mitchell card. And she goes, oh, yeah, that.
What?
Yeah, your work was good on it, but I didn't like that ugliness you wrote on it. And I was like, what ugliness? What you wrote, that was completely unnecessary. And I was like, well, it wasn't, I didn't say anything bad. It was just kind of like a personal anecdote. But she's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, if something comes up, I'll give you a call. And I was like,
oh my God.
What the fuck just happened? I talked to somebody else and like, oh, you didn't know? Her and Steve were dating. But I was like, well, still, I didn't feel like I said anything horrible, but that was like...
It's an industry made up of people who were beat up every day in gym class.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would take things incredibly personally. Yeah. No, it's true. No one is more touchy than people who are involved with art on any level, really. You know, it's like I think about that story that we heard about. Was it Brian Michael Bendis and Randy?
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Where they used to be like the best of friends, and one day Randy, who used to be a very well-known critic in comics, wrote something not glowing about one of his books, and Brian's never talked to him since.
That's retarded, man. Especially as much shit as Bendis deals out.
Yeah, I know.
That's a punk
but
move,
that's the
man.
thing. It's like the people who dish it out the most are the ones who usually can't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think we've all been there to some level where suddenly, we were really proud of something, and somebody was like, I didn't like it, and your first instinct is to punch him in the face.
Yeah, it was to get defensive. What do you like about it?
But you get older and you grow up and you go, hey, you know what? This is good. It should be a good question. What didn't you like about it? Because there's something to be learned by the people who don't like your stuff.
Yeah. So, John, you remembered your story.
Actually, I was going to talk about something. But it's another person who's out of the industry, Kat Ironwood, and so now
is she out of it?
I guess so. Who
I mean,
knows?
what was that book she wrote? Omaha, the Cat Dancer?
No, that was Reed Waller and Kate Worley. Kat Ironwood was the woman who was Eclipse Comics.
So you can't talk bad about Omaha. They died.
No, that's right. No. I always
did they die?
Well, one of them died.
Reed Waller, the artist,
the artist
right?
died.
Did he die?
Yeah. No. Kat Ironwood. It was one of the comic book trades, and I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't the Comic Shop News. CBR, comic book read. I don't know, something like that. She edited forever.
And she did that Will Eisner article, and it made her or whatever,
right, and that led her over to what being editor in chief of Eclipse Comics.
Yeah.
And Eclipse was a company that published Miracle Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what you had?
But she's out of the industry, so it doesn't really count. So I'm really kind of at a loss. I mean.
Like a lot
because
of
I am trying to work nowadays,
Well, like I said,
we
we
don't want you to sabotage your career.
We should totally manufacture on LEOG a felt stuffed bag of dicks that people can buy to send to people that they're furious at. Because if you've noticed, Geek Boys, nobody's more mad at people than Geek Boys, like us with Joe Quesada,
and no one's more homophobic.
True too. So we could send Joe Quesada a felt bag of dicks.
Well, we got enough empty Crown Royal bags. We can Yeah, clearly at this point, I have no illusions or desire to work in the industry again. So I can say whatever the fuck I want to say.
Yeah, that's true. So, and you never will. Okay, but all right. So let's just go to. So honestly, if you were to say, well, what was the best thing you ever worked on? Like your favorite thing that you're like, wow, that was a really positive experience. Why? First off, not even so much what it was, but why was that so positive? Why is that a good thing?
It's probably a tie between two things. One of them I mentioned on the last on the Staple podcast was Project Superior, which is a story that I did for free. And it was a character of mine that, or it was a group of characters of mine that I came up with, and I just wrote it and drew it, and it was superheroes, and it was sort of I grew up on Mad Magazine. It's like superheroes. I like superheroes; they're fine, but I'm not a superhero guy really. I've come to that conclusion, or realization really, in the last few years that I'm never going to be a superhero guy. So I've just kind of figure out my own way of doing stuff.
You know what? Now that you say that, and I think about your art, that makes perfect sense. The Mad Magazine thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I grew up reading Mad Magazine and Cracked, and even some issues of Sick
stuff
and
looks
everything.
like Sergio Aragones?
No, I'm thinking more like Wally-Wood, like the Super Duper Man, kind of things in that vein.
That's exactly, and that's kind of what it was called, Hero Squad, and it ran in Project Superior. And so I wrote and drew that, and it has its zits and flaws and everything.
Yeah.
But I really dug working on that. And then just something that I just finished up. I've been doing some young readers work for this company out of Canada called Rubicon that does stuff for like educational graphic novels. And it was this 40-page graphic novel that I did called Making Waves that's done for girls from the age of 10 to 13.
Yeah.
And I just had a lot of fun working on it. I mean, it's like the company, doesn't pay a whole lot, but it was one of those things where it's like, okay, in order for me to make this work and have the pay work out, I got to figure out a way to work fast. And so I figured out a system so that I could draw pencil and ink 4 or 5 pages a day.
Yeah.
And I drew 40 pages in a little over 2 weeks.
Damn.
And so, but I had so much fun doing it because, and part of it's all wrapped up in an experience that I had at the last Mark Walters show up in Dallas. Mark Walters is a guy who puts on conventions up in Richardson, Texas, which you guys should go check out because they're fun shows.
I've heard that.
But I think I told you in Staple off mic. And I was at that show, and the dad was there, and he had this little girl with him, and he was looking through my portfolio at my Upper Deck cards of like Ghost Rider and Punisher and all this type of stuff. And he asked me what I'd been working on, and I told him, well, I've been working on this young readers graphic novel, geared towards little girls, and his daughter's eyes lit up. And I said, yeah, it's about this girl whose dad, her mom dies, and her dad remarries, and she doesn't like her stepmother, and they're forced into this extreme situation that causes them to work together.
Yeah.
And then they learn to appreciate and love one another. And the little girl went, cool. And I was like, man, there is a whole other audience out here that has no interest in male power fantasies.
Right.
And I just got another script to do another one today for younger readers, like 2nd and 3rd grade, about teaching kids about camouflage in the animal kingdom. And it's all about, it's a ninja rabbit teaching a butterfly and a chameleon how to be ninjas.
A rabbit has to teach a chameleon how to be a ninja?
Yeah.
I mean, the chameleon would know all about stealth.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
ninja, the advantage rabbit has is numbers.
Yeah.
They're just like the hand, dude.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
But just the idea of I love drawing. I mean, I'm not a furry or any of that weird crap,
Oh, you say
but,
that.
But I love drawing cartoon animals. I grew up watching Bugs Bunny.
Well, and reading that magazine and reading funny stuff, it's often cutesy stuff.
Yeah.
You're not Robert Crumb, but
Yeah, but I love drawing talking animals.
Yeah.
And like the project that I alluded to last time I talked to you guys about, the project that I won't name because it's not coming out yet and I'm just tired of talking about it, but there's a talking animal in it, and I'm never going to explain why there's a talking animal. We talked about that. It's like, I'm never going to explain why there's a talking alligator. I might, but I probably won't.
Well,
it's going to, and
because you wanted to.
Yeah, and there are other stories with talking animals or just animals, not anthropomorphic, but with human characteristics. I love doing that
What's
stuff.
the name of that one that was recently with the sort of robot, like brained dogs and bunnies and stuff?
Oh, We Three?
Yeah,
Was that it? Yeah.
Wonderful. What did you think of that?
I didn't read it.
Okay, you should.
didn't read it.
It's one of the few comics that I've actually kind of gotten teared up reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and often is quoted when people say, "Hey, what comics made you cry?" It's like, well, yeah, it's that one.
Wow. Well, that brings me to a question. What comics are you reading and enjoying these
Yes,
days?
that was going to be my next question.
I haven't been to a comic shop in over a year, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting sent freebies? Are you not reading anything?
Well, I get a comp box from DC, and like the lower tier comp box, so I get all their monthly titles.
Yeah.
And so I read a few odd things out of there, but nothing that really comes to mind. There's a new book that's coming, Mysterioso or something like that. It's one of the Wildstorm books that's a creator-owned thing.
Yeah.
That Jeff Parker, I think, is writing it.
Oh, okay.
And that I enjoyed the first issue of that. I just got a new comp box today, and the second issue is in it. And I pulled it out, and I'm going to read it.
All you're reading is the stuff you're getting for free at this point.
Yeah, because before I moved back down here from New York, we were saving money.
Sure. I mean, are you married or engaged?
I am married.
Okay.
I got married in August.
And that was just recently, so that was a big cash drain right there.
Yeah, that was a huge cash drain. And then we got down here, and because of being out of sight, out of mind, the work dried up for a little while.
I would tell everybody, look, if you want to be serious about this, you got to go to New York, where out of sight, out of mind. You got to be able to where they can see you and go like, hey, I got something for you.
Yeah,
and that was the whole reason you went. And then you're coming back.
Well, I wasn't exactly burning the town down anyway with a ton of work. I mean, there were points where I was damn near homeless up there.
Which is why I'm all the more surprised that you moved back.
Well, I just couldn't afford to live there anymore, man. We were paying $1,325 for a 1-bedroom apartment
for a shoebox in the middle of the road.
That's about $400 more than I pay for my house. Right
now. And Austin is ridiculously expensive. So so we got down here, and my work, dried up for a little bit, and then my wife, because this is an overeducated town and the economy what it is, she had to get a job doing personal assistant stuff for like $13 an hour. And so we're just not making it, so we're getting up and we're moving to Fort Worth now,
packing up.
Good riddance to Austin, man.
Fair enough. I'm a big fan of Austin myself, but maybe it's because I found such a good deal on this house.
I'm still digging it. It's funny. I have watched it change over the last 20 years, but to me, before it was like it was different, but not. It's like before it was more quiet and it was cheaper, but there was no money coming in. It's like whatever money was all based around UT. Anything was all UT based and nothing else. And so when tech moved here, it's like it changed, but then there were more streams of revenue. So now...
Not for me, man. Not for me. As far as I'm concerned, the Californians came in and choked every bit of anything that was good out of this town. It's like, weird is over, man. Weird is over.
You know what cracks me up about you, John? Is that you have always reminded me of Jesse Custer from Preacher. And he's so Jesse Custer, he doesn't even like Preacher.
No, man, there are things that I love and I'm passionate about. And I used to love this town. And there's still some cool things about it. I mean, but... It's weird is over, man.
The only thing
strip malls are not weird. I mean, the Domain is not weird.
There's a big slogan here in Austin.
Traffic is not weird. The Beauty Bar is not weird.
No, it is
not. Okay, none of that is weird.
There's a big slogan here. They tack on everything that says "Keep Austin Weird." They put it on everything.
Weird
and at
is
this
over.
point, it's like that is an industry itself. The Keep Austin Weird,
Yeah.
and that is the least weird thing there is.
Yeah, but you guys, when I moved here, 20 years ago, it was all Austin, a live music capital of the world, and I would look around going, "You got to be fucking kidding me!"
Yeah, that's a load of crap. Too.
Yeah, so they're always going to find.
Well,
we got to have a new tagline.
When they're fining bars in the music district for playing music too loud after 10 o'clock, they're no longer in the
That's
live
not
music
weird,
capital
and
of
it's
the
not
world.
weird.
It's not weird.
What's weird is they're still calling it weird in the live music capital of the world. I mean, I'm like, look, man, Austin is all right. I'm not the reason. I first of all, let me go ahead and say it's every Austinite's duty to piss on Austin and talk about how cool it used to be.
Right.
So I'm just holding up my part of the bargain. Okay? But the sad fact is Austin is not what it used to be. And I know nothing is what it used to be, but it was always, it's not what it used to be. It's not the Vulcan Gas Company anymore, but it's the Liberty Lunch and the Electric Lounge.
Okay.
And then it was this or that. And now it's
Liberty
just
Lunch and
like,
the
man,
Electric
where
Lounge.
is it? I know there's it's moved over to East Austin and you got like Rio Rita's now and all of that stuff. But I've been to those places, man. They're all right, but it's just too thick with hipsters, man.
True. There is that.
It's gross.
Heavy.
You know? And there's no shame in it, I guess. I mean,
I can't help but think though the hipster thing is not an Austin thing. It's a nationwide.
It is.
thing.
It's a nation. I was just about to make the point that New York City. I mean, I love New York City, but in every part of like New York City, there was Williamsburg. It was just this nasty area that artists went in and made cool, and then the yuppies went in and sucked all the life out of it. And then the artists moved up to Washington Heights, and now they're over in Jersey. Now it's like yuppies chase cool shit out.
It's what happens is everything gets co-opted. Anything
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a rebellion eventually gets co-opted.
True.
And hipster is just a co-opting of the indie rock rebellion, and that's all that is of indie and punk rock. And it's become fashionable now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was inevitable. I mean, eventually, 20 years from now, you're going to see people dressed up and like sort of like label versions of black metal shit, you know? And it'll be like, oh yeah, the fucking annoying metal hipsters. And like, wow, it's so inoffensive.
Yeah.
They have a Saturday morning cartoon about them now.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, hell, they already have a band with a dog singing, as we found out.
Oh yeah,
last week.
K9ers.
Anyway, I don't want to stay too specific on Austin just because.
No,
we're
it's
more
cool. The one thing I will
independent
say is I'm going to throw a challenge down to the people who are still coming here because they think it's a cool place. Fuck it. Abandon it. Let the Californians have it. It's over. Stop fucking the corpse that is Austin and go create something cool somewhere else.
Where's the cool city in America right
Yeah.
now?
Fuck,
Where's
I
the
don't know. It
place
hasn't
that-
been made yet.
Because people keep telling me Portland, but I went there and I thought it was kind of run down.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to Portland. I've heard Portland's nice, but my challenge is man, Austin was a little podunk shit town, and then the hippies came here because of the university, and they made it into something cool. Man, Waco is a shit town. Waco makes me want to fucking vomit just saying the word Waco. I would never go there, but my mom and my sisters and brothers-in-law live there, so you have to go there every now and then. But Waco, man, you can get a cool little post-war house in Austin and Waco, Texas, for $27,000-$30,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it's
What
in
you need
Waco.
to,
But it's in
yeah,
Waco,
but you know
yeah.
what? If you have some really dedicated, truly creative, inventive people, not just these bitches with the haircut and the skinny jeans, actually wanting to create something real. I mean, I'm fucking old, man. I'm 41 years old. I'm not going to do that shit. I got a wife. I got to make rent. But if you're young and you have energy, stop fucking this nasty, bloated, stinking ass corpse of Austin. Move 100, take the fucking challenge and go to Waco, 100 miles north of here. Buy a cheap ass house. 100 of you, artisans, chefs, whatever. Go up to Austin, create a community there.
A Waco.
Yeah, in Waco. Waco to just say Austin
You said
again.
Austin.
And Waco, and create the new Austin.
Right.
And let the fucking yuppies chase you out of there. Create something new and brilliant that the rest of the country goes to, and they point to and go, look what's happening in Waco.
But the more we do that, the more cool spots we're going to have. To we're
Fine.
a whole country of postmodern
But,
of snobbery.
At least that's better than no cool spots.
Yeah,
that's
he's got a
true.
point there.
Yeah, that's a good
You
point.
know?
Yeah. Well, it's still a matter of opinion because I still look and I've been around the country a lot and go, wow, this is still better than almost
Charlotte, North
anywhere
Carolina
else I've
is
been.
awesome. I love
See,
Charlotte,
I thought
North
Charlotte had the same problem Austin did, that had gotten kind of overrun.
Not even
by-
close.
Okay, which
Not
of the
yet.
Carolinas has Bob Jones University?
I don't know.
Because I'm not going to that one.
No.
Why not?
That's the racist
Man,
one.
Texas has Viter, Texas.
Right. I ain't going to Vida either.
Yeah, but you're in Texas.
Yeah, He's
Yeah.
in Austin. He's in the little
Yeah,
liberal
I'm in
oasis,
the
you
little
know?
blue oasis in the big, huge red state.
Well, Charlotte is cool. Knoxville is cool, you know?
Knoxville is cool. I would like
Yeah.
to point out I had a lot of fun in Knoxville. I had a lot of fun in Memphis, for that matter.
And I know I'm never going to sell another comic again in Austin, Texas. And if you don't buy it because of this, fuck you anyway. There's cool shit in all Austin books. I love Brad Bankston. I
Yeah, man,
love Austin
you've known
books.
Brad since when?
We went to the same high school together.
That's what I thought.
He was about 4 or 5 years behind me.
Your
yeah.
point is, if you have to suffer through the hell that is Austin, Texas, then at least go to Austin Books a lot.
At least. I'm still mad about the Liberty Lunch, man. I
Yeah.
love Mark and Jeanette. And I'm
Oh,
sorry I'm talking about crap that a lot of people probably don't know anymore. But Mark and Jeanette were two of the coolest fucking people on the planet, and the Liberty Lunch was heaven on earth, man.
I
We saw
agree.
so many great bands there,
I
and the
lived
city
there.
fucked them out of it.
I lived at that place. It was an amazing, more or less outdoor. I mean, it was indoor/outdoor
Yeah.
club. That all the big bands that weren't arena sized,
Yeah.
but bands like Jane's Addiction and people like that.
Yeah, I only
Sonic
went once,
Youth
and I saw Luscious Jackson there.
Yeah, they would
Yeah.
play there, and it was plenty big for tons of people to fit in. The beers were cheap. It was a really cool environment. And
I saw the Smashing Pumpkins there.
Yeah.
I saw Bjork there.
Did you go to
I
the
saw the
two-night-
Neville Brothers there. I saw Daniel Johnson
the
there.
2-night final Sonic Youth thing when
No,
somebody
I didn't see
stole
that.
their van with all their guitars.
No,
and
I didn't
Oh,
instruments.
shit.
Not in Austin, but wherever they come from right before that.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't have anything. So local music stores in Austin all pitched in and gave them like, hey, come get whatever you
What
need.
year was that?
It was the year it closed. It was like the second to last show at Liberty Lounge.
Wow, I was probably still working at Waterloo then.
So they got up there like, well, none of our shit is tuned right for any of the like last 3 albums or so. So they were literally forced to play all old stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's like this show that because normally they don't do that when they tour. They play as
they want
it
to
is with
promote the
almost
new
every
album.
band that out that long.
Yeah.
They play stuff that you really don't want to hear as
Right,
much.
yeah.
You'd rather hear the stuff from the classic albums. So
Yeah.
they went and they played nothing but stuff from
Yeah.
Evolve, Daydream Nation, Goo, and we were like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
is the best show ever.
Yeah, I saw I believe Valentine there.
I didn't get to go to that. I heard that was an
man,
excellent
that
show.
was a great
They're
show.
a
I saw
great
so many great
live
shows,
band.
and the city fucked them out of it because of the tech boom.
Yeah, I man, when I saw, I went to go see the Breeders, and at the time we had no idea who John Spencer Blues Explosion was, and they were opening up
yeah.
for them, and that was one of the most amazing things.
I didn't
I'd
see
ever
it.
seen.
I saw him at Emos. I saw John Spencer at Emos. Yeah,
Oh, great show. He plays with a theremin, which
I
if
know.
y'all don't, anyone
Oh, yeah,
listeners
yeah,
out there
yeah.
don't know, it's like the only instrument that you play by not touching. Pretty
Yeah.
much, it creates an electromagnetic field in the air that you wave your hands in. Like if you ever saw any of those old '50s B sci-fi movies with the sounds, that's a theremin.
I must have seen the Breeders because I know I saw the Breeders, so I must have seen them there. I saw Belly there.
I saw Belly there,
and I
yeah.
saw the Pixies at the old.
Man, we
Austin
probably
Opera
ran
House.
into each other 100 times and
Yeah.
just didn't know each other.
Yeah,
so.
I was too stoned to notice anything. man.
Yeah, I was probably a little drunk.
Yeah.
Either that or paying attention to the band.
Are we? Is this a comic show?
I know.
Well,
Hey
we
guys,
can
can we talk about comics?
We talk
at some
about
point?
whatever.
How long
we
does this
want.
thing go?
Well,
Until
wherever.
we
Yeah,
until
you
whenever.
just edit all the
it
crap
runs
out.
itself.
No, we don't do
down.
much editing.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
depends on
free
the thing.
flowing.
Yeah, it's free flow. Yeah, you feel free to rhyme as much as you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I stopped listening to hip hop after Gangstar Step into the Arena, man.
See, I think I stopped before that. Although I
There's
got
a little after that, I guess.
I enjoy what's been going on with the sort of the next level, like after the post DJ Shadow world of hip hop has become very entertaining to
See,
me.
you're talking a foreign language to me now.
It got all into very like instrumental
Yeah.
type stuff. And,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
lots of very sample heavy,
Yeah.
but using really old 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I
music.
don't mind that. I don't mind.
Yeah,
that.
because you're the one who turned me on to the Beastie Boys instrumental album.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you
I
want to
don't
hear
know.
one really, really amazing album, DJ Shadow's Introducing literally changed the entire field.
Really?
It's
Right on.
astonishing.
I have friends, or actually, that's part of the problem. I don't have friends that are into hip hop anymore, and so you remember Dwayne?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you.
Dwayne used
I was
to always
like,
turn me on to hip-hop.
like maybe I should ask him after we're done because there are people who listen going like, who?
Dwayne was a guy I worked with at Waterloo who is out in San Francisco now. He grows pharmaceutical marijuana.
Nice.
Of course.
Now there
He was
is
a cool guy. I used to like him. But it's funny
I
because
love
you introduced
Dwayne.
me to him as Mooney. And you always called him that. I
Well,
remember-
his grandfather's name was Mooney, and so he sort of adopted that. And
Well, I ran into him one night at a party with just me and him. I was like, "Hey, Mooney, what's up?" And he's like, "It's Dwayne." I was like, "Okay."
he can be
Dwayne?
kind of crabby.
Yeah.
Really? He must have been out of pot.
No, he was. No, I don't know.
I say most stoners are very calm tempered, except for those times when it's been like a week or so, and
Yeah.
then they're like, "Fuck you."
No, he's just one of those guys, man. Sometimes you catch him and he's feeling kind of grumpy, whether
Well,
he's
fair
high or not. So that's
Bipolar.
fair.
High bowler. Okay. All right. So let's go back to comics here. And I want to ask you, we were talking a little bit about what you're reading now, but straight up, okay, I know you hate these questions. You've already said as much, but off the top of your head, top 3 runs/graphic novels. Like you just go, what hit you immediately? You go, wow, this is what I enjoyed the most.
I don't even really know what you're talking about.
You know,
I guess.
runs of a comic
Yeah,
/
certain
graphic
run,
novel.
like the Miracle
Fantastic
Man.
Four, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee.
Hell yeah. I
is
adore that.
one of the greatest comics ever created. Golden Age Captain Marvel.
Really?
One of the
Okay.
greatest comics ever
Oh, the
created.
C.C. Beck Captain Marvel?
C.C. Beck stuff, Schaeffenberger, the whole thing. God, the third. Man, I don't even know.
Really?
I really don't even know.
Those are the 2 that you focus on, really?
I buy artists more than anything.
Okay,
you
you're
know?
not as interested in story?
I mean, I like story, but
Okay, well,
you
now
know,
that brings up a good question. What artists are you looking at now that you're liking?
I don't
John
know.
Lucas.
John, you got to answer one of these questions. Come on.
I love Adam Hughes, but a lot of the stuff I look at, you know, we were talking about it earlier that, you know, like the Mad magazine, I buy old stuff, man.
Yeah.
I don't buy much new stuff. And the new stuff that I buy, it's guys who are obviously into old stuff. I love Kevin Nolan. I love Mark Schultz. I love, Adam Hughes. I love, gosh, I don't even know.
So you
I
like,
love Dave Cooper.
I mean, you like the old stuff. By old, you mean beginning of comics, pretty much.
This is
Stuff.
the 50s,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
50s and 60s. The stuff that, like...
So you don't hold much truck with the later days or impressionistic artists like Sienkiewicz and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I like Sienkiewicz.
Sienkiewicz. I always
dig
say
his
his
stuff.
name wrong.
But it's not something I'm really going to go back to. I like stuff that's a little earthier, or not even earthy. I just kind of round and friendly. I mean, I love C.C. Beck.
Right.
I love Wally Wood. I mean, I love Jack Davis. I love that type of stuff. I love Alex Toth, Eisner. I've got a spinner rack in my house, and it's filled with Mike Plug and Wally Wood and John Severin. I love that type of stuff. That's
man.
why I don't get any work, because those are the people I'm looking at,
Well, there's bound to be some sort of. I mean, it seems like with all the masterworks and everything that are coming out now, the fact that all those early reprints are actually selling for a lot of money now, and seem to be doing well because they keep putting out.
I
new
keep
ones.
expecting a drop in price, and they never do.
Yeah, no, I know they never do. You go to Amazon with the used books for those stuff. They'll maybe be $2 less used.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is crazy. So obviously they're doing well. Makes me think that maybe there is a renaissance.
No, because it's not a renaissance, because it's all guys my age buying it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are other people that if I don't make lists. I'm not a list maker. I don't go, oh, I like this and this order and everything. I just don't. I just like the crap that I like. And so as soon as you ask me, I'm like a deer caught in the headlight. I'm terrible that way.
I know,
can't
and I
come up with it.
felt bad even asking because you had already even pretty much said that.
Yeah, but most of the crap that I listen to, I look at is old stuff.
Okay, but John Cassaday, like you guys are best friends, but a part of that was because you liked his artwork so much.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that attracted you. So.
Yeah.
Like John Cassaday would be on that list. There's got to be some contemporaries of Cassaday who, as you were looking at his work, somebody else's work you looked at.
Well, Paul Pope is a good friend, and I love his stuff.
Okay,
but it's like John is someone who's a draftsman. I mean, he draws well.
Yeah.
But he's a great designer. I mean, that's what he's great at.
Yeah.
And like Paul, I love Paul because he and I both love Hugo Pratt.
Yeah.
And those types of guys, it's even like with music, it's the same thing. I listen to some new stuff, but it's all new stuff that sounds like old stuff.
I discovered that about myself too. I was like, man, I don't like any new music. And this whole crop of new music came out that I was really into. I was proud of myself. And then one day it dawned on me when I wasn't thinking about it, like, wait a minute. This is stuff that's all influenced by the stuff I listened to in high school.
Yeah.
So I don't like new music at all.
You had to figure out that Sharon Joan and the Dap Kings was influenced by her.
No, that I knew. But it's just like some new stuff coming out of England. I was all like, yeah, I'm like this stuff, new stuff. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, but even a lot of that stuff is cycling earlier stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's
just to me, I was like, wow, I didn't evolve
it's
at
like,
all.
I don't need Duffy. I have Dusty Springfield, man.
That's a perfect example because I was so into Duffy, but I'm like, wow, this is Dusty
See,
Springfield.
but I like Duffy and I like Dusty
No.
Springfield. What's wrong with
I didn't
that,
stop liking Duffy. Don't
I
get
mean,
me
it's
wrong.
like imagine it's
just,
like a young Dusty Springfield reborn making new albums.
It just
That's
bummed me
awesome,
out that like I didn't like step into something new. I'm like, I'm still the same person I was.
I like the Gorillas.
like
the
the
Gorillas,
okay.
do oddball
Although,
stuff.
admittedly, more their first album than what they've done since.
See,
then.
I like their second record better than their first. I love the Kings of Leon,
I
but I don't
still-
like their new record.
I
though.
still haven't found that transfer point. Everyone's like, yeah, Kings of Leon. What do you think of his new album? I'm like,
See, the
it's
new
okay.
record I don't care for. I went and saw them at the Austin Music Hall or whatever the one down by close to where the Liberty Lunch used to be.
It just hasn't bit into me yet. I don't
and
know
it was
what
just
is.
it was not what I wanted to see, and it was filled with douchebags texting and and I liked their earlier records. They sounded kind of earthy and kind of loose, and this new record, it's like, oh, it's a pop record, you know? And I got no problem with pop. I like pop music, but that's not what I want.
It
from
depends
them.
on the band. Like there's a band I really like called the Apples in Stereo.
I've heard of
that.
them,
Is I mean, it's always been pop, but it used to be really lo-fi, and it was okay. It was interesting, but it wasn't till they went straight up. Fuck it, we're going to go into a real production studio and make a just total pop album that they really turned genius. you know? And
I
sometimes it
love
works that
Rufus
way.
Wainwright.
Yeah.
but I love him, But I like Harry Nilsson too, you know,
Sure, I
and
love
that's
Harry
his
Nilsson.
stuff sounds like Harry Nilsson to me.
See?
So
I find
Okay, now
that-
see, I need to check out Rufus Wainwright.
I love what
I find
Rufus
the stuff
Wainwright.
that I'm most impressed by these days is stuff that's evolving out of that whole trip hop scene, and that's sort of fusing with the indie folk scene, which is
Yeah.
in itself, you know, I mean, that's all. The indie folk scene is all because they all discovered Nick Drake at the same time.
Yeah, Nick
You
Drake
know?
just bores me to tears.
See, I
man.
like
I'm
that stuff,
I can
but-
take him a song at a time.
But that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
But now these two scenes are kind of fusing into this interesting sort of like cross event. There's a band called Animal Collective in particular that I think
Yeah.
is really neat. And there's a lot of bands like that are like Olivia Tremor
well, I
Control
liked Beth
that are
Orton's first
fusing these
record, and that
things.
sort of seems to me like maybe that would fall into there.
Beth Orton?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, like-
but that was a while ago. But
Yeah. Well, that was back when I was still working at Waterloo. Yeah.
No, I like Beth Orton too.
Yeah.
But that was kind of what happened to her. She kind of...
I don't know. I never listened to anything past that first record.
She was one of those ones they were pushing. Check out the Beth Orton single, and then she
Yeah.
just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But I guess that happens with a lot of people. You're like, I want to be a musician, I want to be famous, and then you get a taste of what it's actually like
Yeah.
to be put in that position. And you go, oh, I
Yeah.
don't really like this so much. After
Yeah.
all.
My wife is younger than me, so she winds up like listening to a few things that
Miley
I wouldn't
Cyrus.
like. No, not Miley Cyrus.
She's
But,
like
she's not that young.
And Emily Osment
not
and
that young.
Demi Lovato.
But no, I didn't. I didn't.
Daddy, I said, stop calling me that.
I didn't receive a dowry when I married her. But like Cat Power and stuff like that.
I like Cat Power.
You know.
Yeah. It's funny because when I was young, if it wasn't fast and loud and angry, I didn't want to listen to it. And now that stuff kind of bores me, and I want to hear stuff that's kind of soft and pretty and atmospheric.
Well, I grew up, even though when I was a kid, I mean, I listened to rock and roll, and I wound up like pilfering all of my sister's rock and roll because my dad worked in radio, and so he would get all the free records. And I grew up on Kiss, but then I got a little
Hell yeah.
older, and I found my sister's Led Zeppelin records and ZZ Top and all that crap, and you know, got into that and then got into rock and roll. But the whole time, my mom was always listening to like outlaw country and soul music.
Yeah.
Hell
So,
yeah, nice.
You know, so I always, even though I was listening to rock and roll, you know, no matter how heavy and hard and fast or slow and sludgy and doomy it got, I was always kind of keeping an ear to, well, where did this crap come from? And maybe that's where it all starts because, you know, my musical taste has always had a look back to it, and my interest in art has always had a look back to it. You know, where did this stuff come from?
Unfortunately, I didn't have that background. My brothers and sisters and family, at best, they would look back to the Beatles. You know, I mean, they were a rock and roll family. There was no one teaching me about soul or funk or country music or any sort of like where a lot of this, or the blues or any of that. It wasn't until I moved to Austin that people had to go, what? You never listened to Funkadelic, and you never listened to Robert Johnson, and you never listened to, you know what I mean? Like all these people. I'm like, I don't know. I'm fucking from Virginia. You know, we thought Led Zeppelin was eclectic and rare back then.
Yeah.
You know, although I remember getting in huge arguments with people that Black Sabbath was better than Led Zeppelin when I was like 15 years old, getting all emotional about it. Fuck
Hey
you,
man,
Tony Iommi.
if that's what you're in the mood for, it is better at that moment. You know, that was one of the reasons why I finally just got sick of the record store and had to leave. I mean, just because like so many people have so much emotion and self-worth wrapped up into the records that they listen to, and it's just like, dude, you didn't create this shit. Okay, you're just listening to it. If I don't like it, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing except that I don't like it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, as much as I like going to Waterloo Records back when you worked there, it was a store full of Jack Black from what's High Fidelity. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
but it's true though. People, especially when they're young, they find like when you're you know, just post-pubescent, they find music as their way of identifying who they are. You know, I mean, and forming their groups even.
Well,
you
it's
know?
just everything. Everything you're struggling to find out who you are. So whatever you discover, whether it's, you know, a permanent find or it's transient find, you're going to be like balls out. And that's like all these young girls and these militant lesbians, and it's just like, you're 19 years old, man. It's like, get over it. You know, you're not the first girl to eat pussy. You know,
And nor hopefully will you be the last.
no, it's just. But you know, they're 19. They're going to be balls out pussy eaters, man.
Yeah, it's you know, I think it's part of the next stage of development. It's just like, guys, what you should be looking forward to is that point where you no longer care if anyone doesn't like the band.
Yeah,
that you like at
exactly.
that
Yeah,
particular
true.
time, or the movie, or the TV show, or whatever it is. I mean, like part of why we're able to do what we do as critics is because we really don't give a shit if each other hates a movie that we love. We'll have a little fun back and forth, but ultimately, who cares?
Yeah, it is the thing when somebody wants to argue with me about a movie that I like that they don't. It's like, Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
know, I can understand. There's movies I love that I know precisely what I love about it.
Uh-huh.
You know what it is in there that gets to me personally,
Yeah.
and I can see why someone else might not like that.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit. I'm just going to enjoy it because I get those things out of it that talk to me. you
Yeah,
know?
man. I love Big Trouble in Little China, but that
Hell
shit
yeah.
isn't going to cure cancer.
No. Although, well,
Well, I don't know.
That one might be the one.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I develop cancer, show it to me so we can see.
Well, you know what Jack Burton always says. Jack Burton always says, "That's the end of the league 6.5."
Yeah, that's a good wrap up.
That's
spot.
a good wrap up spot.
Man, John, well, thank you for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me. We didn't talk about comics hardly at all. Are
Well,
we still
well,
on, or
We're still on.
We're still on.
recording.
Okay.
Why,
You,
did
you,
you?
got some some things?
no,
you-
no? I just
We always just dance around where the wild spirit
Yeah.
takes us. you
Okay.
know? And this time it took us to music, and it took us to your wife liking Hannah Montana and all sorts of wild stuff. You know.
No, she doesn't like Hannah Montana. She is.
Gonna take her to see the Jonas Brothers. Man, Greg is gonna flip when he hears this. Like we had such a discussion on music, and he wasn't a part of it.
Well, that's because he would have ended up just taking it to jazz, and we're like, yes,
Well, I like
okay.
jazz
I
too,
do too,
man.
but he goes to that jazz that you've never heard of.
It is funny. Like no matter what we're talking about, if he gets to the mic, he somehow relates it back to jazz. It's
That'd
like
be-
Okay, I've heard of Ted Curson too, so just get over yourself.
To be fair, he's turned me on to a lot of stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah.
So whenever he talks to me about music, I always really listen. But
Yeah.
you know, that's only because I'm at that point where I'm running out of new stuff to hear.
See, the thing is, though, is, man, I love jazz, but for the longest time, I hated jazz.
Yeah.
Because every asshole that I met that liked jazz was an asshole
No,
about
very
jazz.
true,
Like, it's just like, man, you are so full of your own shit, and you're into jazz.
But jazz
It
is
took
so
a-
many different. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
different types of jazz. When people
Yeah.
say I hate jazz, I'm like, no, you don't. And they're like, yes, I do. And I'm like, do you hate this and this and this?
Yeah.
All these different things. I'm like, see, that's all jazz.
Yeah.
I'm very automatically suspicious of anybody too young who likes jazz. though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just
it's
like, you know what,
just
you're
back
not,
up off the jazz.
You're
a
not
little,
supposed to like
you know?
jazz yet. It's not
Yeah.
time for you to like jazz.
Yeah,
yet.
it's like
Relax.
poetry people who are like, oh, about poetry. It's just like, well, explain to me what's great about poetry. Don't get on your high horse
Yeah,
about poetry.
yeah.
Don't try and like, bam, you don't know about this romantic poem. Like you ought to feel real small about it.
And
It's
certainly
just
don't
like-
attack all other art forms
Yeah.
versus. That's
No,
the
that's
worst.
the worst thing.
Not
Yeah.
that your buddy is like this, but it's just like, man, back up off the jazz.
Yeah.
Just, you
No,
know.
he's not like
He's
that.
not.
No, that's
he's
good.
not. He's
That's
just
good.
passionate.
Yeah.
But we'll be hearing from him on the next LEOG. Thank
know.
you, John Lucas, for coming in and joining us for this one.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I hope it's entertaining. And we didn't talk about comics at all. But,
We did talk about
We
comics.
talked about comics.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you ever feel like daring the wilds of shithole Austin again.
Oh,
please
hold
come
on,
and-
hold
No,
on, hold
we'll-
on.
I'll come
Hold
back.
on, hold on.
my
Before-
dad's here, so.
Before we usher Sandman John off the stage, perhaps you have like a website where people can come check out your
Oh, I'm
art.
sorry.
Yeah. I guess I said it last time, but I'll say it again. My art is on comicartfans.com. I have a gallery on there, and comicartcommissions.com. And
And these things are for sale.
I have original artwork for sale, and I also take commissions, and or you can just look and enjoy, or look and there's a little way that you can comment and say whether you like it or you think it's a steaming piece of doggy doo.
John can take
And
constructive
Yeah, he
yeah,
can.
I can take it. And if you leave a comment, I will respond in email and all that. I respond to all the emails.
Yes, leave your address. He'll show up at your house and punch you in the face.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Don't you? No. I've seen you do that.
Man, I'm old and brittle. I don't.
Whatever.
Punch somebody in the face and his hand just crumbles.
It's turned to powder, man. I left my bones on the mosh pit of the back room before it became like stabbing land.
No, I hear you. A warning out there to all those kids having fun, partying, trying to be a cool guy. My ears barely work because I've seen a lot of shows hanging off. Hell, I hung off a PA at a Buttle Surfers show
Yeah.
because it was the only way I could get close enough to the stage to see what was going on. And
Yeah.
believe me, that paid off in spades 10 years
Yeah.
later.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
I worked security at that Smashing Pumpkins show at the Liberty Lunch, and yeah, my hearing was never the same afterwards because I was right up by the the speakers right up on stage.
All that invulnerable shit when you're a kid, yeah, your body keeps a record of that shit.
Yes, it does.
And it comes back later. You're like, oh man, I broke my hand like 3 times, but it's like 6 months later, I was fine,
The
ready
chickens
to skateboard
will come
again.
home to roost.
Those chickens will come home to roost big time.
Yeah, so when you're watching Jackass, just watch Jackass.
Yeah,
Don't try to do that same
Pay
shit.
attention to that little warning in the beginning because they are not kidding. Those guys will all be in wheelchairs by the time they're 50. Guarantee it. And so will John Lucas. Thanks, John.